first of all, thank you to you and your team and to Sue and the Audit and Risk Committee for all of the work that has gone into this. And of course, the additional work that's gone into it due to the failure of our auditors to be able to complete their part of the task on time. And I think there's a bit more of that to come today. Anyway, Nick, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and afternoon, everyone. Hopefully this will be brief, but we're nearly there, but somewhat predictably, we're not completely there, which is intensely frustrating. We have a schedule of unadjusted errors, which is normal. And I'll ask Mike, if you don't mind, Jackie, just to summarise what's on that. There's no change required. So the numbers in the accounts are the numbers we reported in April, but it's just useful for the board to be aware of some of those unadjusted errors. And then secondly, the auditors are still debating the form of the audit opinion, which may need to retain what's called a limitation of scope for some work that relates to the stock take back in 2021 that wasn't complete because of COVID, and technically is still part of the opening balance for the prior year comparatives. So they may not be able to clear that this year. And perhaps Sue could then comment on that. So if you don't mind, a brief word from Mike on unadjusted errors, brief word from Sue, and then Q&A. So Mike, please.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Afternoon, everyone. OK, so the unadjusted list comes to about 13 million. 5 million of that relates to our managed equipment service, where as a trust we hold a provision, which means, effectively it's 5 million for risk of not updating some of the managed equipment service replacement. The reason we hold that is because it's been a long-going problem for a number of years where we've fallen behind with some big pieces of kit, largely diagnostic type kit, and it's quite a big program of work to get it caught up with. So the auditors would rather we didn't have that provision, but it's our judgment that we should hold that provision. So that's 5 million of the 13. There's then 6 million, which relate to items where there have been some small sample tests done, and they have then extrapolated the impact of that on a statistical analysis type basis. The actual error found was a net 1 million, and that's been extrapolated up to 6. That really is only an indication because there's no evidence of other errors as such. And then there's been 2 million of other actual errors found. And the root cause of those is actually the receipting process. So when we're going out to buy things as a trust, we've got quite good now at use of purchase orders, but making sure that users of that system receipt things timely and to the right place is what we need to do to kind of solve that as an underlying process issue. And our internal auditors will look at all of the controls related to that list as part of our internal audit of financial core systems and controls in the next 6 months or so. So it sounds like quite a big number, but actually I think we understand the drivers of those numbers.
Right, thank you, Mike. And Jackie, you okay if we bring in Sue briefly for comment on the other items? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to kick off by saying a huge thank you to the finance folks and the company secretarial folks, because actually this year's process from our perspective has been vastly superior to the previous 2 years. So a lot of lessons were learnt by colleagues as to how we would pull this together. And I think our auditors have also recognised that that has been an improved position, particularly around the annual report. So we need to bank all of those processes. Nick and Mike have outlined what the issues are that are outstanding. The unadjusted errors do largely relate to the auditor's transactions testing, and that is largely the cause, therefore, of our delays in trying to conclude that transaction testing. But we were assured at the last audit committee that the small components that are outstanding will not be material and would not result in amendments to the accounts, hence Nick's comment that these are the accounts as previously presented. So we think there's sort of 2 outstanding items. One relates to an approval document that they want to see the original of, and one relates to this potential limitation of scope on the value of cost of sales in the prior year as a result of the stock take problem. neither of those should be material, and therefore I think if the board is happy, we would propose that the accounts are approved subject to an audit committee making an email final approval of that when it comes through, which we anticipate shortly. So if the board is happy, we would like to do that so that we can move this forward at pace. So Nick, is there anything else you wanted me to raise?
No, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from board members? Marta.
Thanks. Thanks a lot for the annual report itself. It's a very comprehensive document, and particularly the front part, very easy to read, which I think for the few people who are brave enough to want to read it is a good read. So well done to everybody on that. I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. Thanks for explaining what's happened with the unadjusted errors of 13 million. I wanted to understand how that stacks up against the level of materiality to which the auditors were auditing, so I can actually understand, you know, the context. And the other thing is about the letter of representation. I think it'd be really helpful to know if there are any non-standard clauses that the auditors have asked for Jackie, who would probably need to sign it on our behalf, to sign. Thank you.
Thank you, Marta. Who'd like to respond on that?
Do you mind if I ask Mike, please? Thank you.
Mike.
Yeah, sure. So the materiality marker is 14.8. So we're at 13.6. So there's, you know, not great bit of headroom in there yet. So we're comfortable with that. Not been aware of any particular representations by the auditor at the moment, but as we know, they don't necessarily tell us everything in advance. But not at the moment, not aware of anything.
And can I just check? I think actually, Nick, you signed that letter, don't you?
Yeah, typically, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it usual that it doesn't come in front of the board, the letter of representation? In other places it has been to the board.
And we're happy if there is anything unusual, Jackie, very happy to circulate it.
Could you, given Marta's question, could you provide specific assurance to the board that there is nothing unusual in it, and perhaps circulate a copy of it as well for people to see?
Sure.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I will therefore take that people are content to proceed on the basis that the audit committee will review any final commentary or stuff from the auditors, and assuming that that is satisfactorily concluded, we will take the report and the accounts as having been approved. Are people happy with? Is that what you were hoping? I would say so. And is everybody else content that that's the position that we're taking as a board? Okay, good, thank you. Is there any other business? No. I don't think there are any members of the public, but if there are, would any of them like to ask any questions? No? Okay, good. So just to reinforce Sue's comments, thank you to Nick, your team, and Linda and your team, and in fact the comms people involved in putting together the report, which I agree with Marta is on the readable end of reports like this. So well done to people for that. And thank you, Sue, to you and members of your committee. Good. On that basis, I will declare the meeting closed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.